Look, I would say Gary Vee definitely was one of my like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm speaking to him moments, because I had been following him for so long on social media, and I'm just like, this guy is so cool, so relatable. And I just never expected that I was gonna get that interview.
Welcome to Trujectory, the podcast committed to helping you step into your true path, your purpose work. There is nothing better than being able to do what you love every single day and to get paid for it. I lived many years of my life working jobs that didn't align with me, and I know how rough that feels. I want to see as many people as possible stepping into the work that truly lights their soul on fire. This is your space to come and be reminded that you can create the life that you're dreaming of and to learn exactly how to do it. This is your space to be inspired by those who have been bold enough to follow their passions and have created their dream life because of it. If you're ready to stop playing small, stop holding yourself back, and start aligning with your trajectory, let's do it. So we have the beautiful YASMINE MUSTAFA in the studio today, and YASMINE has a very special place in my heart. We haven't seen each other for probably about 11 or 12 years, which is crazy. And she's moved her ass over to Dubai, so I can't see her in person, but luckily we get to have this chat. But YASMINE is, and I call her Yas, so I'm just going to get straight into that. So Yas is a presenter and a producer for the Khaleej Times, and I'm definitely saying that wrong, but you'll feel me. And and she's a podcast host on The Pulp, which you have got to check out because she gets some amazing guests and have some really deep chats with them. So thank you so much for your time, Yas. I know you're busy as hell, but how you doing?
I'm good. Thank you for that intro, Sarah. That's awesome. And I'm so happy that we're finally reconnecting after so many years. This is awesome. I love the internet.
I know. Yeah, I know, right? Honestly, I'm so grateful. I can't believe we're talking. You're in Dubai. I'm in Australia. This is incredible.
Lovely.
And so it's been since film school that we have not seen each other, which was such a special time. We were just having a quick chat about that. It was such a special time I can only speak for myself, but in my life, it was such a special little cocoon bubble of love and learning and being lost in cameras and tech that we just didn't know how expensive it was.
Community as well, you know?
Really was.
Yeah,
it was like a family.
It was a family, and like everyone just loving the same thing. You feel like you're in like a, I don't know, like a dorm room, like kind of, I don't know, vibe, you know? Everyone's just into the same thing. We're all having kind of very similar conversations, but it's so much fun. It's just so much
That's so what it was. Hey,
Yeah.
It's because we all shared this same passion for film and filmmaking and creating, and we were just able to be so real and like, yeah. And I mean, the amount of projects that we had to make in that time, we were there for 2 years, and I think we each probably made about 50 little short films with working on all of our teammates' films as well.
Yeah, and there was that like suffering together kind of situation. You know?
Yes.
And you came out the
No
other side.
sleep. None of that. Yeah, we made it.
True.
So tell us about what you're doing now. So, I mean, it's been so many years in between, but you're big shot now, woman. What's going on? What is your day-to-day like at the moment? What are you doing?
I know. I wouldn't say a big shot, but like I feel like I'm just, you know, ever since film school, I've been doing so many little things that kind of led to this point. I feel like it wasn't just like this, you know, it wasn't just like a couple of projects and then here I am. It just took so long to get to where I am right now. I'm just being very real.
Yeah, I love it.
And right now I am, as you said, I'm a producer, I'm a presenter, I have my own podcast, and I also have a podcast with the company that I currently work for. So the company that I work for is a news agency. We make news packages as well as feature videos, you know, that have to do with lifestyle, and we cover some cool kind of new things that are happening around Dubai, because Dubai is just full of events and full of new things all the time. So we make sure to cover those. And then just last year, I kind of just took the podcast really seriously because I realized there's a lot of people that kind of, you know, are doing great things here and making an impact in this community here in Dubai. And they're all international, which is really nice too. You know, you get people from Australia, you get people from America, you get people Lebanese, like so many different cultures are in this town. So that's just, you know, right up my alley. I feel like I'm blessed to be doing what I'm doing, and it's exciting to talk to people, isn't it?
Oh, it so is. And I do especially love, I mean, I love all the conversations that I have, but I love talking to other podcasters as well, because you just have this, again, this shared passion, and you get how much it lights you up. Like at the end of every guest interview, I'm bouncing off the walls like I've had 10
Oh my God,
coffees. It's
I love it.
hilarious.
Yeah. 100%.
Honestly.
Yeah.
So was there, I totally get the, doing multiple little things here and there, especially as a creative like you are, and you have skills in so many different areas. You can be behind the camera, you can be in front of the camera. So it's kind of like you've sort of tested out what you do and don't like. Was there like a mindset shift or something that happened? Like you were saying, you decided to take your podcast more seriously. Was there something, internal that sort of happened to make you go, no, this is go time.
Yeah.
Like I'm going for this now.
I feel like it was just an itching for like more, I know what I can do behind the camera. I know I'm a good editor. I knew these things, and I felt like still, no matter how good I was doing, I just felt like I was not as fulfilled. And I was like, there is something that's missing. I know I like connecting with people. I know that I have a lot of topics to discuss. There's so many things that are in my head that I really would love to talk to people about. And I feel like when podcasting first started, it was a bit scary. I felt like, no, like I'm not gonna go there. It's not my thing. Like, what am I doing? Just talking to a mic? That's weird. then, um, and then I feel like what did I do? I think it was just one day or one weekend. I was like, you know what? Reaching out to my first guest, who was a public speaker, and she had also wanted to be on a podcast, and I was like, I'm just gonna do it. No stress. Like if I don't like the podcast, I'm not gonna put it out. And if it goes well, I'll put it out, and it'll be the first episode. I go into the podcast studio. I make my questions. I mean, mind you, I did have a little bit of experience before, just because I was working here at Khalij Times, and I had been doing some news kind of packages before. But it was the first time where I was sitting on for a long time with one person talking into a mic. So I was a bit nervous. I was like, what if I don't have enough stuff to say? What if the questions suck? What if what if there's lulls in the conversation? Like so many, you know how it is. Like your
Oh
mind just
yeah,
takes
I
over.
know these fears.
These fears just take over. But then I realized, who cares? Like there's a camera. You're gonna edit it at the end of the day. I mean, there are ways to kind of get around it.
Yeah.
Um, and the person that I was talking to was very comfortable to talk to. So I think that was that was a good like decision on my part in terms of like who I was speaking to. And I just went for it, to be honest. I mean, I don't know.
I love
It was
that.
just,
I love that. I think that's so important. And you've touched onto something really important there. It's just taking the action, right? Like we can get so caught up in our heads. And I know I did for 7 years about doing this podcast. And the whole purpose of this podcast, of Trajectory, is helping people who are in that situation like we both were, who are doubting themselves, going, it's too scary. What if this? What if that? What if this? And to remind them from examples from people like yourself, look at what happens when you just take that leap and you back yourself. And that's what's happened. Like you get the answers once you start, right? Like we think we have to have them all and then it will all fall into line. But it's like you start and you figure shit out and you figure it out in a different way.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what I would say to people, if you're like, okay, I want to do something, I want to do a podcast, or I want to do something new. For me, that feeling it was like a staleness. It was like I need to do something. Like I can't just be sitting here wanting to do something and not having, the balls to do it. Like I have to do it.
Yeah. Yep.
So that's what happened. And a lot of people also get bogged down by the technicalities of something like this, like
Yes.
a lot of my friends are like, oh, you started this and it's so cool. I'm like, look, I paid for a studio. That's what I did. I mean, just take out the obstacles that you can. So if you're not a techie person and you don't know how to set up a mic and you don't know how, just remove that part and invest in that first time, first time studio session, and then you'll see if you like it. And if you don't like it, then it's not a waste of money. It's just kind of like you've tried something, you see if you liked it or not. And that's what I would say, my advice.
Yeah. No, it's so true. It's such good advice, because I hear that from a lot of people as well. I've got a bunch of friends who want to start a podcast, and they've been on that fence for so long. They've even, maybe a couple of them have recorded a couple of episodes, but they're still doubting it, and they're getting overwhelmed by all the tech and the software. And like you said, there are people who know how to do this stuff fantastically, so pay them to do it. And there are so many different levels as well. You don't have to go high level, top shelf straight away and freak yourself out. You can just find someone like you or I who can probably even go around to their space and set it up for them. You never know.
100%.
But
I agree.
Just getting into it, honestly. So did you have a great support system around you? What was that like? Did you have people going, what the hell, you want to do a podcast? And were you sort of that, in the movie, because let's talk in movie terms, if you're the main character, were you sort of fighting against everyone? Or were you like, no, I've got this amazing support system behind me?
It was actually the opposite. It was actually, I did have an amazing support system. Even when I was living in Australia and I was kind of still podcasting was very new. I think the only person who I knew was doing a podcast was Joe Rogan. It was just...
Yeah, wow.
So I was like, okay. And then I remember my brother-in-law was like, why don't you just do a podcast? I'm like, that's weird. No, I wouldn't, no. And then it just kept going. And then people, I would kind of mention it in conversations. Nobody had ever said, no, you can't do this. But I think people were asking questions like they had projected their own kind of maybe not knowing about it onto. So how are you going to set it up, or how are you going to, so they were asking questions, legit questions. It's fine. But I think I've only received love, to be honest. I'm very blessed with that. Nobody has ever said you can't do it. Even if they did, to be honest, it would make me work harder to
harder.
Yeah. It would just my ego would be like, no, I'm doing it.
I love that. I love it, because some people do have great support around them, and some people feel like they're the only person in that space that even wants to do the thing that they want to do. So they feel like, I don't have anyone around me who knows what I'm talking about or has that same interest. And that can actually be the excuse that holds them back, going, well, I'm just going to stay the same as everyone around me. And that's what freaks me out, because that was my situation growing up. I was always the creative one around many people that were not creative at all. It was only when I moved to film school that was the beginning of my creative life, and that was at 24. So it took quite a while to actually get there. No one even knew that I sang before that, because I just didn't want to share anything. So I was like,
and for everyone listening, can I just say, Sarah has an amazing voice, because I have heard you sing, and you dance like you are an amazing dancer. I remember from film school. I just FYI, everybody.
Gosh. I love you. And now I'm wondering, oh my gosh, when was I dancing? I must have been drunk.
And you were just pop locking, and I was like, this girl.
I love it. It's funny. I really do miss dance. I need to get back into that shit. It's so good for the soul, honestly.
Yeah. Okay. No, you're good.
So thank you, my love. I appreciate that. I'm going to take that little snippet and use that as my promo.
Yeah, do it.
Sarah, dancer, singer. She does it. So I want to dive into your podcast a little bit more, because this is your passion, right? So this is something you've been doing. How long have you been doing it for now? When did you start?
So my own podcast, I've been doing it since June 2023. So it's been more than 6 months now. I think it's been, so 7 months, I guess.
So here I am expecting you to say a couple of years, maybe 3, 4 or something. You've already had some incredible guests on your podcast. Yeah. That is so fantastic. Out of the people you've spoken to, I know every episode is unique and beautiful in its own way, right? But have there been any standout characters that you're like, I can't believe I'm speaking to this person right now?
So I have to preface this by saying that I have 2 podcasts so that people don't get confused. So I have the Khalij Times podcast, which is my work, which is what I, go to work to do. And and that one I had started, I'm in my 7th episode right now, but I started a while ago. It took a while to get the ball rolling with all the guests. And then my own podcast, I started in June. So between them, I'll kind of answer so I'll combine them and I'll,
Yeah, well, they're definitely linking in together, right? Because it's sort of all of your jobs right now are sort of, I love that. You've got multiple jobs that make up one fulfilling life right now.
Isn't that crazy?
I love that.
Very cool.
Beautiful.
I would say, So sorry, the question was who was the person that I
You're going, oh my God, I can't believe I'm talking to this person. Or maybe someone that shocked you. Like, what's one of your favorite interviews, basically?
look, I would say Gary Vee definitely was one of my like, oh my God, I can't believe I'm speaking to him moments, because I had been following him for so long on social media, and I'm just like, this guy is so cool, so relatable. And I just never expected that I was gonna get that interview. I had a friend who reached out, somebody in PR, and they were like, "Hey, Gary Vee's in town." I immediately, weirdly enough, my subconscious brain was like, "Don't tell me to interview him because I cannot, because I'm
Yeah, that is too much.
too much for me right now." So, but then she was like, "Do you want to interview him?" I was like, "Yes, I do." And of course. And so when he came in, I was pretty nervous, to be honest, because I wanted to get it right, you know. And one thing I've learned is that when I am very nervous about something, it just means that I care a lot.
Yes.
So
Yep.
I was just making sure that I got all the questions. I was like, okay, I need to really step it up here. And then I met him, and I was like, you know how he is. He's very hyped, and he's very kind of like excitable and everything. When I met him, he was just very calm. And he exuded this like anchored groundedness, like this calm. And I told him like, "Do you want to know the questions I'm going to ask you before?" And he was like, "No, it's all good." Um, and this is somebody who's expected to kind of, you know, always have like the right answer, like the
Yep.
sassiest and like, you know, everything on point. So I was like, wow, this guy, like, he's very confident, you know. So when I was speaking to him, it was like when the cameras were rolling, I was like, this is crazy. This is really cool. This is awesome. I can't believe I'm
Honestly.
doing this. And my intro, you know how you like when you do an intro before the my intro was like so quick because I was like running out of breath. I was like, "Hi guys, welcome to," and then I was like, "Okay, yes, you need to calm down. Like this is it's fine. Like it's all good." And then then
Yeah.
we just eased into it, and everything just kind of worked out, and it was a great interview.
That's incredible. I love his energy, and he's just so himself. That's
Yes,
the thing. He's just like not trying to be anyone,
yes.
just being real. I freaking
That was
love
one
that.
of them. And then I think the second interview that I really enjoyed, I would say, is I don't know if you know Sadia Khan. She's a popular psychologist who's like gone viral on Instagram. She's very well known here in Dubai and UAE, and she talks about relationships. And I think it was just that
Mm,
topic that was just really, really. Some topics just really like open you up, and I feel like that was
yeah.
such a, in terms of content, that was a really special interview where I felt like I was getting therapy, which is great. And I hope people like got value out of it, you know? So,
Definitely. And I mean, that's the other thing I love about podcasting, right? Is like as the host, you get so many therapy sessions and lessons and educations that you wouldn't necessarily have had before. You get to learn from so many different people. It's
I know.
amazing.
I mean, not to mention, also, I have to say, Deepak Chopra. Deepak Chopra is awesome. Very kind man.
Is he one of yours as well?
Yes, I did Deepak
Oh
Chopra
my
last year. Oh, yeah,
goodness.
he was very, very like just down to earth, generous with his time and
Mm.
information, and it was a great conversation. So,
I love that. And I mean, there's a couple of examples. I don't know the female doctor that you were talking about, but at least Gary Vee and Deepak, they're both such pure examples of being their true self, right? Like that's what I want to help people with is to remember that that's the power that we're all looking for. We're all looking for what are we supposed to do with this life? What's our purpose? What's this and that? The point is to find who you really are. And in fact, it's not even finding it, it's letting go of all the crap that you're not.
yeah.
And then you can actually move from an authentic place. And I love the way you explained it. You can actually feel that energy emanating from both of them because they have done the work and they're just so in their power and they're just speaking their truth. Like they don't need to script it, they don't need to think about it. It's just, here I am. What do you want to know?
Yeah, exactly, exactly. And there's like kind of this like no urgency, no rush in terms of their demeanor. It's a very
Yeah.
powerful way to be, which is great, which I want to get to one day.
Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah. So I'd love to know if you're willing to talk about it.
Mhm.
What do you do on a day when you have a podcast episode and you're just mentally not into it? You're just having a low day, whatever that may look like for whatever reason. How do you get your shit together?
That's a good one. That happened to me last week, actually. What I would say in those situations is that I know that after the podcast, I'm going to be good. This is the thing. It's just going into it. You know, if you're having a low day, a tired day, whatever it is, there's also this fear of like, it's gonna suck, or I'm just not gonna be on point. Like maybe my questions might lag. Something's gonna happen. But I always say to myself, look, when you're in it, I know that I'm gonna be good, and I know that afterward, it's like a workout. You know, it's like when you really don't want to work out, and then when you're in it, and afterwards you're like, oh, thank God I did that. Like, I just feel so much better. I think before you go in, just be kind to yourself a little bit. You know, it's okay if you're not the sharpest on that day. People don't see what you see at the same time. You know, like you have to also realize, just look outside yourself a little bit. People have their own nervousness and their own issues, so that you can kind of just don't worry so much about someone finding out that you're having a bad day. So just be a little bit kind to yourself, and have a chat with them before you go in. I think sometimes that little human connection before you go into an interview can be really nice, just to feel like, hey, we're two people, we're gonna have this nice chat, but let's just talk a little bit. Like, for me, that kind of stuff cheers me up. So find out what you need, and if you need, an extra coffee that day, or if you need an extra kind of, delete Instagram for that day. Like, find out what you need. Do you need to focus? Do you need to pick me up? Do you need to speak to somebody? Like, you have to kind of ask yourself those questions before going in. And then if you find out what it is, then it's going to be much easier once you get there. And then other times I would say, just don't overthink it. You're going to be fine. Like, you're going to be okay. You're going to be way better than you think you're going to do.
Hey guys, I hope you're enjoying this episode, and I hope you're getting a lot of value out of it. I would love to ask you to take just a couple of seconds out of your day to please rate and subscribe this channel. Whether you're on YouTube, on Spotify, on Apple Podcasts, whatever streaming platform you're on, if you could take a couple of seconds to just rate and subscribe, I would be so grateful. That's going to really help us get our reach out a little bit further. It's going to help the amazing messages from my guests be heard by a larger audience, and we're going to be sharing a lot more perspective and advice and inspiration for those people who really need to remember that they can and will own and co-create the life that they want. You just need a little bit of motivation, a little bit of inspiration, and that's what I hope to provide here on Trajectory, the podcast. So please rate and subscribe. Thank you so much in advance. I really appreciate you tuning in, and I hope you have a beautiful day or night, depending on where you are. Mwah. Yeah, and I love the gym analogy. It's so spot on. It's all a mental thing, right? You tell yourself, I don't have the energy, it's going to be hard, blah, blah, blah. You do it. Whether you hate it or love it at the time, at the end you feel amazing. Like, you feel so good and you're so proud of yourself. But I also love that you brought up something there that I think is really important, that we forget that everyone else is going through shit as well. We sort of think that everyone expects us to be perfect because we're putting that expectation on ourselves. So the self-compassion, like you said, is so important. And that's something I've only learned really recently, honestly. And that's changed. It's the only reason I was able to start this podcast for myself, was to be kind to myself and let go of that perfectionism side. Otherwise I just wouldn't have gotten off the ground. It was too much.
I think we have to remember that we live in a world right now, I think for the past 3 years, we live in a world of comparison. It's so hard not to compare yourself to other people and what they're doing online. If you have any inkling of ambition, or that wanting to do better in your life and wanting to be better, you're gonna start comparing yourself to people, and it's a mind, like, I don't know, but it's a mindfuck. So you shouldn't.
Oh yeah, go for it. Fuck yes.
So don't do that to yourself, or at least just be aware of it. Just stop comparing, because comparison then makes you just judge yourself, and then you're sitting there judging yourself and hating yourself and not going to the podcast.
Yeah, exactly.
And canceling appointments. So you shouldn't do that.
Yeah. And it's also made up as well. Like we're comparing because we're coming from this mentality of scarcity, that there's not enough for everyone. So they've got something, I want what they have. Whereas I've really had to reframe this the last few years for myself and go, anytime I start to fall into comparison, I flip that as gratitude that they're showing me what's possible. So whenever I go, ooh, I want what they got, I'm like, there it is. And I'm going to have my own version of it. I'm not going to have what they have. It's probably going to be even better than what they have. But that's not the point. It's just that I look at them as like a shining lighthouse now rather than the envy thing.
Yeah.
But
That's really good.
it's
I
so
love
easy
that.
to fall into.
Steal that.
I love it.
Very good.
So I know you're a busy woman. I've got a few final questions for
Yeah.
you. I mean, I have 1,000,
No,
but I'm trying to
ask
cut
me
them
a
down.
lot. Keep going. It's fine. I don't need to deal with it.
Just a couple. Okay. I want to tap into body and mind a little bit, and then I have a final 3 questions that I love asking everyone.
Yeah.
So do you have any non-negotiable daily rituals that is self-care related?
I do. So one of the things that I have to do every day is go to the gym. I know that's like boring for everybody to hear, but it's true. And it's just the cliche, like, yes, healthy body, healthy mind. Because the day that I don't go to the gym, I feel like something's off. There's excess. I have like excess mental energy and excess just energy, and I need to go to the gym to be able to channel it correctly. Otherwise, I'm gonna be fidgeting all day. I'm gonna be eating bad stuff. I'm gonna irritable. Like, yeah. So also, I mean, I'm like, we're not getting any younger, so you you should take care of yourself. Like, you really take you only have one body. Make sure you take care of it. Now, the other thing that I do is I won't say that I meditate all the time, but I really try to make an effort to sit at least for 5-10 minutes and do some deep breathing, and that really helps with anxiety. Definitely before a podcast, definitely before I do anything on camera, it just kind of centers me, and it makes me realize that my thoughts are not to be engaged with all the time. You will have crazy thoughts 24/7, and if you entertain all of them, it's not going to be good. So I feel like meditation has really helped me, I should do more, obviously, like, people go to yoga and do, I just don't, but like, I think the breathing thing really helps me. So those are the things that I try to do. And
I love
eating well,
that.
eating well is really, I feel like it changes my mood to eat bad, so I'll always just try to eat well.
Yeah, honestly, I keep saying the same thing. I've only just recently, you can tell I've had a big shift in the last few years and I've started looking after myself. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But the food thing, I mean, all 3 of those are so spot on. I find the same with the gym, and it is that excess energy. If I don't get a way to burn it out, I'm either trying to keep my bedtime because I want to be good in the morning, and then I've got too much energy, so I'm not actually sleeping and I'm having a horrible sleep, or I'm, throwing out energy in all sorts of different ways, and it's just not a great day. You know what I mean? It's not grounding. It's like, it really grounds you when you work out and you've burnt yourself out to the point where you're like, whoa, I did that. Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, exactly. Like, I just need that, like, being burnt out and not being
exactly.
Yeah, actually, it's kind of just one more thing about working out. It's like, when you're working out, you actually, a lot of the time, you're not thinking about much else. Like, you have to really focus. If you're doing it right, you just like have to focus so much, and that helps center you. So that's why.
Yeah.
Helpful.
It's so true. Instead of all that energy going to your mental chatter, nightmare house, it goes into your body and into the workout. That's so true.
Yeah.
I love that. So what do you think it is that creates confidence in you? Because I've always seen you as a very confident woman, and you've got that air of just very grounded, very just chill, but also creative. Like, you've got so many vibes about you, but there's none of that like nervousness or shame or feeling less than, at least not that's portrayed. So what do you think it is?
Listen, I mean, thank you for saying that. I have so many days that I am not confident, and I think, though, what I do realize that the thing that gives me confidence has nothing to do with me, actually. It's more like when I am around people, for example, I try to I know this sounds a bit cheesy, but I try to focus on what's going on there, you know? Like I want to if I'm looking at you, Sarah, like I'm trying to like ask you questions. Like I'm trying to vibe with you, you know? So it's like I'm trying to make a connection with people. I feel like that really
Mm.
helps in terms of not focusing on yourself so much. Honestly, when I
Yes.
go into a room, I'm trying to pick up on different things and I'm trying to really not to say that I'm minimizing myself or anything, but it's more like I'm trying to just not center on myself too much because then you start feeling a bit awkward. That's when you start feeling like, oh, I'm everyone's looking at me or I'm wearing something weird. Like,
Mm.
no, it's just let that go a little bit. Um, I always say this thing to myself, which is I used to say it when I used to do public speaking, when I used to like get up on stage. I used to say nobody cares. Okay?
Yes.
And
Yes. I
nobody
love that.
it's because nobody cares about what you think they care about. You know, you're when you're being
Yes.
self-conscious and you're being feeling so anxious about something, you think everybody cares about you. You think everyone's like, "Oh my God,
Yeah.
look what she's doing."
Yeah.
But actually, nobody cares.
They're waiting until you're done so they can go on their break. They're just on their
Exactly.
phones.
So that's how
Or they're
I
just looking blankly. What am I doing here? Yeah.
exactly.
It's so true.
So that's what I think about when I go into, like, for example, a room or a social situation. You know, think about how you want to contribute rather than what you are taking in terms of like attention.
Yeah. I really like that. That's like taking the focus off yourself
Mm-hmm.
and yeah, and just seeing what's going on in the room and then participating in that rather than, yeah,
And I would
we
say,
so get caught in our heads.
yeah, yeah, we do. And you know, that's why I'm actually not so good with being at the center of attention. Like, for example, when I am on stage, it is hard. I like podcasts.
Yeah, you can't.
Yeah, yeah, it is hard. But like, that's why I like podcasts because it's a one-on-one, and I thoroughly enjoy having an intimate conversation with other people. You know, that's no problem for me whatsoever. But I think if you're a kind of person that doesn't enjoy attention, then definitely the confidence comes from just being able to give your time and your energy and being present with other people. That gives me confidence. So if that
Mm.
makes sense.
Yeah, absolutely. But you're spot on. Once you're on the stage, it's harder to do that. Not thinking about you because everyone's actually looking at you. Even though they might not be thinking about it, it's, yeah.
That's a lot of
Oh,
mind
man.
work to do when you're on stage. It's like just it's exhausting to be honest.
Yeah,
I don't want to be
seriously.
on stage right now.
It's a brain workout right there.
Yeah, it is. It is. Yeah.
So, if you knew, this is one of those throwback questions. If you knew what you knew now,
Yeah.
mentally, your mindset, all of these things that you've learned, all these tools that you've gathered 10 years ago. So, let's say film school days, right? When we were back
Hmm.
there, what would you have done differently, do you think?
What would I have done differently to be where I am today? You mean?
Well, if you had all of the knowledge that you have right now and the confidence,
Yeah.
you might not be where you are now. Who
Yeah.
knows? But what do you think you would have done from leaving film school? What do you think you might have done differently?
Oh my God. I don't know. That's a hard question because I'm a kind of person that was super creative and wanted to do everything. So, and that's
Mm.
what I did, you know, and I had a hard time trying to focus on one thing because I wanted to be behind the camera. I wanted to be in front of the camera. I want like it was a lot
I feel you.
going on.
Yep.
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking
Yep.
about. And what I started saying to myself, or what I would say to myself, is that Yasmin, you are going to have time for everything. If you want to do something, then there's going to be a phase for that. And just explore it, explore what you want to explore in that phase. Because if I am to say to myself, oh, if I want to be a presenter, I can't be an editor. If I want to do this, I can't do that. Like, that's very limiting for me, you know? And for somebody who's creative, I think you would understand. Like, it's just,
Oh, yeah.
yeah, like you need to allow yourself to explore. And I don't think that there's going to be maybe one thing that I'll be doing for the rest of my life. I think I'll always have these phases. And I think what I would have told myself back in the day is that it's okay to try different things. Don't beat up yourself over it, but also have more fun because I was a little bit too serious about trying to find my like niche, if you want to, put a word to it. Like I was a bit too serious about that. So I would say explore more, have more fun, and that's where you're gonna find, yourself.
That is so beautiful, and that really strikes a chord with me because it sounded like you were talking about my life, and that's the main thing that, I mean, I wouldn't change anything, and I'm sure you wouldn't either because it's led you to where you are.
Yeah.
But it's just that have fun a little bit more, and don't put so much seriousness and pressure on finding your thing right now because, like you said, I've found I tried to stop music while I focused on, podcasting and other things. And over the last few years, I've tried to stop this so I can do that and put this on hold while I do this. And it turns out it's all my medicine. I'm actually not well. I'm not physically or mentally well if I try and cut. It's like blocking a sort of pipe of energy in my body. It's like putting a lid on it. And I'm not getting that energy pumping through me anymore. And that's going to fuel my podcasting and the other things that I'm doing. And so I've had to make peace with it, going, I have to do it all. And I don't know if you know much about it, but I've learned about human design recently. And oh my gosh, I've got to send this to you.
I don't know much about it.
I bet you, I'm going to put this live. I'm going to keep this in the edit. I bet you're a manifesting generator. I want to find out.
Excited.
So there's 5 different types. I'm nowhere near the expert. I've actually had someone who has done an episode all about this in season 1, and I have another person coming on soon to give us more of a rundown. It's basically like 4 different things. I'm going to get this wrong. It's a mixture of astrology, quantum physics, the I Ching, the Kabbalah. That's
all
I've
of
probably got something wrong.
things.
All of the things, yes. And it sort of really relates to exactly your time of birth, where you were born, and it tells you what type you are. So there's this type that I believe that you probably are, and it's called a manifesting generator, where basically what I found out recently is the whole thing about this type is that you're not meant to do one thing. You actually want to do a little bit of this and a little bit of that. And you're also not necessarily meant to finish all the things you start, which is another thing I beat myself up about. And the only problem we face is that we've been brought up in a society where everyone tells you to pick one lane. And that is what has always sort of held us back. And there's lots and lots of info about it, but I will send you some links.
Excited.
And
I'm very excited for that.
I'm excited for you.
Yeah, I'm excited. What are you? Do you know what you are?
Manifesting generator.
Are you?
Yeah, because it just sounds so similar, like the sort of things that you've been through, and there's so many different ways because you've got so many skills as well. You've gone and like honed your skills in so many different things, and then you're like, I could be behind the camera, in front of the camera. What do I want to do?
Yeah.
It's just.
Didn't you find it don't you find it a little bit difficult finding a job with that, because it's hard because people are like, what do you want? What do you want? What do you want to do?
Yes. 100%.
And then you're like,
this is why I want to create one for myself, because I've been very blessed to work in a production house that I've loved for the last 10 years, being able to be creative every day, which is why I've stayed there, because no 2 days are the same. And I'm sure you love that about your job as well. It's constantly changing. But that's exactly what you just said is the problem. I can't go and work for anyone. I can't do that anymore. Like, that's not even an option. So it's like, from now, I already have this beautiful job. Working at the production house, but I now want to evolve that into the podcast and doing more, working with other people, doing some coaching work and a whole bunch of other things. There's so many things. So it's insane.
Good. You all love it.
Me too.
No
exactly. And that's
we're manifesting generators.
No one. Exactly. We have permission. And that's all it was, is once I heard about that, I was like, it just gave me that permission to stop beating myself up and stop going, why are you doing it so differently to everyone? Why am I why? It's like, that's what I'm supposed to do.
And I feel like maybe people tell you, like, probably, just choose one so they can just not hear you complain anymore. Like, not me too.
100%.
Like, my parents are always like, just choose something. And I'm like, I don't want to. And they're like, okay, well, then stop complaining about it. I'm like, okay.
Yeah, I don't want to do that either.
Want to talk and vent.
Yeah, let me.
Yeah, exactly.
Oh my gosh.
Oh, wow.
Okay, I have the final 3 questions for you.
Yes.
So, this is probably my favorite question for all my guests. What are 3 qualities you really like about yourself?
Ooh, 3 qualities about myself.
Because I think we always think about what we like in other people, but we don't necessarily stop and go, ooh, I really like that thing that I do, or that way that I am.
I would say, I don't know. I mean, is this like personal or career-wise?
Could be anything that comes to you.
I would say, I feel like, people might call it naive or not naive, whatever it is. But I always give people the benefit of the doubt. So when somebody makes a mistake or when somebody says something that could be a little bit off-putting or, not having their best day and they're projecting it on you, I do give people the benefit of the doubt. That's not to say that I'm a pushover. I'm definitely not. So when there is something that bothers me, I do confront the person. If it's something that's worth confronting, then I'll say something. However, I do like to give people the benefit of the doubt because I know myself when I have a bad day or when I'm feeling or I make a mistake, I want that second chance in somebody's mind to be like, you know what, maybe she just wasn't feeling well. Maybe she just wasn't on point that day. And I think giving people that grace and that space to like, just accept that people are human and they're not always going to be on their A game. I think that's a quality that I like about myself.
I love that. If everyone had some of that, that's like a superpower. Imagine if everyone was able to just assume that people are trying their best.
Yeah.
It's like,
yeah, I know.
It's beautiful.
I think the second thing is, oh God, I feel like I'm just being like, I'm so great, like.
No, but this is the thing, because we don't, and I know you're not like that at all. I want to give you this space in this moment to just appreciate yourself.
Yeah,
and go,
thank you.
Yeah, I'm doing really well.
I like it.
It's you deserve it.
Thank you. So the second thing I would say is that I'm really not a giver-upper. Like I will seriously, there's a project that I'm doing, I will literally hang on to threads. Like I will not let go of the thing.
Yeah.
I will really, really try to see the end of a project. For example, I'm thinking in my head, I'm thinking like a short film, or I'm thinking like a script. I'm just thinking about like things that I really felt passionate about that have been needed to let go. Like, just cut it out. Just stop it.
I've had some of those.
Yeah, but I'm just like, no, there's something we can save. There's an edit we can do, or like, even in terms of friendships, sometimes like a lot of friendships, I'm like, should I hang on to this? Should I really try? And a lot of the time I really do. So I would say like I really don't like giving up on things. I feel like magical things can come out of crap. So you just
absolutely, yeah.
You just don't give up on things so easily. And the third thing I would say, is something I've learned recently, and gossiping is something that is very easy to do. And I would say I'm really, really trying to not, like, I've never been a gossiper, but I do notice how my mind shifts when I start talking crap about somebody or saying something. If you feel that urge, I know everyone needs to vent. Everyone needs to talk, to somebody about what's going on with other people. It's fine.
Yeah.
But a lot of the time, we talk about others, not knowing how we are kind of destroying their reputation a little bit by bit. So I always just say, imagine that's happening to you. Would you want, in a room full of people, how do you want to be talked about? Do you want to be how do you, like, just talk about people the way, not everybody deserves, obviously, to be praised and everything, because some people are like, a-holes, but like, you just don't say anything then.
Yeah, exactly.
You don't have to, if you have nothing, literally, if you have nothing nice to say, just don't say anything at all. I think that's in a work environment, it's very important, because reputation is everything in a small town. For example, I live in Dubai. Dubai is a very small town, and big, but it's small in terms of the media industry.
Yeah, wow, like that. What?
Yeah.
Really? Okay.
It's big, but it's like in the media industry,
it's condensed.
So condensed. A lot of people know each other, and you don't want to be known as the person who is talking and spreading false things.
Yeah.
I know that sounds a little bit like reality TV, like, oh my God, what is she going through? But like, this is like
No, I think that's a huge one. And I think when you're on your, as we get older, and especially this time in humanity that we're in, we're all sort of looking at all the parts of us that don't necessarily represent who we really are. And a lot of this has come up for a lot of people. I think that's such an important one. And you start to realize, one, when you're judging someone else, you're really just tapping into things that you're judging about yourself.
Yeah.
It's only relating, it's only triggering you because there's something in you that resonates with that. So there's something you haven't worked on. So again, as soon as you go to bitch, it's like the people that I get jealous of. Instead of talking about someone negatively, I go, oh, I'm about to, okay, what does that mean I need to work on? And I thank them and I go, thank you, okay. But the other thing that's really important is to remember that when you gossip with someone, you can be sure that that person you're gossiping with is going to gossip about you at some point. And you've allowed that culture, you know what I mean? So I think that's a fantastic quality that you're looking at that and you're not. And like you said, it's been such a natural thing for us for so long. We've been given the green flag, go for it. This is normal. And everyone just normalizes it, but it's not normal. It's coming from a broken place. And the more we're aware of it, the more we go, wow, I'm healing. Look at this.
We're not perfect. Like, it's going to happen sometimes. And I would say in the times where you do need to vent about whatever, anything.
Yeah.
Have your person. Like, have a person.
Yeah.
No, you don't need to just, like, that's okay, I think. But, I think.
Oh, I love those. I love those qualities. They're beautiful.
Thank you for letting me.
So,
that's nice. I like it.
That's okay. I'm glad you enjoyed it because it's one of those things where at the start it's like, this is uncomfortable. And then it's like, wait a second. Wait, no. I've got some good shit going on and I want to acknowledge that. And then hopefully you'll keep thinking about that and go, yeah. I don't gossip. I don't give up. I'm fucking legendary.
I'm just
awesome. Just awesome.
Exhausting. Awesome.
So, what is your definition of living in your purpose? What does that look like to you?
Living in my purpose. I feel like living in my purpose is something, okay, it's where, it's where your talent meets what you want to give to people. So, for example, your talent as my talent as a podcaster. What would I like to give to people? I'd like to give them a sense of connection and a sense that they're being heard and a sense that they are sending a message through me as their like kind of medium or whatever. And those are the two things that I think create a purpose.
I love that.
I think that living in your purpose doesn't mean that you're living a perfect life. There's always going to be days where you don't want to live your purpose and you are just feeling a little bit, what am I doing? Questioning yourself. But you have to know that if 80% of the time you're happy doing what you're doing, then you're actually living your purpose because it's a privilege. Not a lot of people get to do that. Most people in this world are working factory jobs and they are working 9 to 5s. And the fact that you get to do something where you're able to give and use your talent, your unique talent, I think that's just, it's unheard of in past generations. And I think we're very privileged to be able to do that like now.
Absolutely. I've never heard it explained that way, and I think that's so brilliant. But it's also equally as important, like you said, to remember that it doesn't mean it's roses and rainbows every single day. It's like your life is still going to go up and down, but you're just knowing that you're putting your energy into what is actually for you to do in this life. And it's sort of, I love that, your talents and service combined.
Exactly.
It's beautiful.
And I think, the times where you are flowing and you're in the flow, and just be so present with it and just really appreciate those moments because they're beautiful. That's you're doing what you're meant to be doing, which is great.
I love that. Last question, my love. So we've sort of tapped on it here and there, but just for anyone listening who is, like you said, most people are working 9 to 5s or factory jobs. Imagine having the ability to speak to some of those people who are at that point where they're going, I really want to get out of here and I want to follow my dreams and do the thing that I want to do. I want to use my talents and serve people, but I don't believe in myself or I don't think it's possible for whatever reason. What would you say to them?
I would say if you don't believe in yourself, you don't have to right now, okay? It doesn't happen overnight. You don't have to believe in yourself to start doing something. Start doing the thing, and over time you're going to start believing in yourself, because those baby steps are what you're going to look back on, and you're going to be like, oh, I did that and I didn't even believe in myself. And look where I am now. And it's like watching a plant grow. You did that. So whether not everybody who goes to the gym is fit. Not everybody who starts a job knows what they're doing. It's the exact same thing. Don't worry about having the confidence and believing. No, just do the work. Just do the actual steps that you have to do. Whether it feels mechanical or not, it's okay. It's going to start, unpacking itself slowly, and you're going to start enjoying it more and more. But if there's this pull towards something, just do it. Latch on and go.
I love that. It's so true. I've learnt that from my own journey. Again, I was trying to analyze everything in my head first, and I found that once I started taking those baby steps, things started to make sense, and then the next step became clear, but it wouldn't have been clear if I hadn't have taken that first step. So spot on.
Exactly. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Yas, for your time. So for the listeners, I just slurred my words. For listeners, for the listeners, how can they get in touch with you, and what can they check out to follow you? They got to get onto your podcast. Where can they find you?
So you can find me on YouTube at The Pulp Podcast, Instagram at The Pulp Pod, and my own Instagram at Yazzie_TV.
Awesome. Amazing. Thank you so much for your time, love. I appreciate it. And it's been so good to see you. I can't believe it's been over a decade.
I know, but this has been
it feels like no time's passed.
This has been so good. Thank you so much, Sarah. Thank you for your questions and your presence. It's been great. I love this. Thank you.
Love you, hon. I'll see you soon. Mwah.
Bye-bye.